Hello and welcome back to the OnlyAccies podcast. In today's episode, we'll be discussing a fair few things, fan reactions after a few of the games, press conferences by Brian Rice, an internet spat, and just the general feel around the club because it is very, very negative. Brandon, how are you today, sir?
Uh, oh. Aye. Okay, since we're talking about a soap opera, which is OnlyAccies now, I thought we'd start with that. Right, okay.
It is a bit of a soap opera now, isn't it? It is a bit mad.
It's always been a bit nuts being an Accies fan, but at the present moment, it's just surreal, some of the shit that's going on, and it's a bit like a soap opera, but we'll touch a bit more on that as we go on.
Yeah, it's been a bit crazy. Just to give people a little bit of a warning, we will be touching on the games the last kind of week or so, but our main focus today is what's going on off the pitch rather than what's going on it. So we'll start, I think, with something you may have seen if you're subscribed to the channel. If you're not, hit subscribe. We posted a video last week, 2 weeks ago, of fans meeting Brian Rice after the Rangers game down at New Douglas Park. Brandon, you were one of the fans. I suppose the biggest
socially
thing is
distant, of course.
Socially distant, of course, and you can see that in the photos. What was that like? I wasn't there, but what was the mood like going down, and what was Rice like when he came off the bus, etc.? Because the audio's not the clearest, so it's not the easiest to make out kind of what was going on.
It was a bit mental, as you can imagine, like I says. But I don't know if some of the viewers have listened or watched the programme Dream Team, which was a football sort of soap opera. It was just a bit like that. But I think it was well deserved. Nobody was abusive. Brian Rice obviously was told people to say it to his face if he had any sort of issues or wanted to come down and say anything to them. And I think enough was enough. People had a sort of enough on a cold, wet Sunday night. So we went down. I think we were there for about 10-15 minutes. A couple of cars appeared and sort of circulated the sort of car park. I think obviously giving notice to the bus that there was going to be fans there, if you know what I mean. So the bus came. It was quite a funny scene actually, because when the bus came, everybody was sort of giving the jeers, like the boos, fucking. And as soon as the bus appeared, like a group of about 6 or 10 Accies fans all came down for the hill, like coming from the Hamilton West way. So they've obviously just appeared to join in, and it was at the exact same time the bus appeared. So it was like something out of film. Just all these cunts come to like, ooh, you know what I mean? It was funny. But the players walked off, didn't even take much notice of it. One of the people there said that apparently a player was smirking and grinning.
Well, this is what I was going to ask, because there was a rumour going around that the players came off laughing, and I didn't hear anything about that. Like, I didn't see any reports or anything that any players were...
I know someone says that 100% he didn't know who it was because it was obviously dark. But there was 2 players walking along together and they were like sort of pissing themselves laughing. I don't see why the person who it was, he's got nothing to lie for.
Yeah.
You've just been pumped 8-0 into a laugh. It's just a bit ridiculous, but nothing's new at this club at the present moment. The call comes over again. Is that Brian's going to come out and talk to you if he thinks that's the least that he can do. So once again, I appreciate he's have stayed socially distant, but if we can just ask that you continue to do so, and if there is any sort of abusive, or there's any sort of bad vibes happening, he'll pull Brian away and it'll just have to be ended at that. Which everybody there, and I think pretty much I speak for 99.9% of Hamilton Accies fans, there's never is abuse that we apparently get tarnished with this sort of abusive sort of label, which is definitely not the case. It's easy for the club and others in media to scapegoat people with that sort of term. But as I say, there is small proportion that you'll get a stupid fan that heat of the moment will sort of give abuse, which it's not acceptable. I'm sure, as I said, 99.9% will agree, but we're human. It hurts, so you will get that. So we continued. Definitely was no abuse, and that's why Greg Hall allowed it to go on for as long as it did. The SLO even appeared halfway during it, so he was obviously advised on that. But no, it was pretty much just people venting their sort of displeasure of the ongoings of what had been happening over the past couple of months. I think it was actually quite timid compared to what I was expecting it to be. And I think that worked in their sort of favour. I think if there was a certain other bunch of people, not to say that they're sort of abusive, but if there was more people, it could have got a bit more heated, and I think it would have been harder on Brian Rice, because you saw at some points with some of the questions, even though they were quite very laid back questions and quite well asked, you can see he was getting a bit annoyed and quite his facial expressions, which I'm sure you've noticed yourself in his press conferences, which I'm sure we'll talk on later, because I was happy at what he was saying, but you just felt that way, in which it was just the same as every other press conferences. It was just the same old excuses. The thing that I was most happy about was the fact that when he was saying he's going to be taking everything that we've says to the players, it actually did seem quite emotional. So that made me think, right, well, he's going to take everything we've said to the players. Although I knew it was probably going to be bullshit, it did seem quite emotional at that point. So, but then any question that we sort of fired him, it was just your basic answer, saying that he wasn't going to make excuses, but whilst he was answering them, he was making excuses. Said pretty much the easy scapegoat for any business in the world at the present moment is COVID, and that's all Accies seem to be using at the present moment, despite everybody else is in the exact same boat, since we like to use the term boat at Accies.
The sinking ship, isn't it?
The sinking ship. So I think it was good to state a point in the fact that fans went down, sort of Brian Rice called fans out after the very bland 2-1 victory, saying, come and say it to my face. So fans did go and say it to the face. I think fair play to him, he came out and sort of dealt with that. Could have easily enough just sat back and not came out, which I'm sure you'll agree is sort of good in his behalf, but nothing really done, and we've saw since then, nothing's been done since then. It didn't make a difference. What he says he was going to do is clearly not done. See, if you're a player and you're getting told you're not good enough constantly in the press, and he's even agreeing to fans that they're not good enough, why the fuck are you going to perform for him?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, one of the things that I thought was really interesting was to move on from that was when he said that he'll pass the message on to the players, and we'll get a reaction. The press conference just before the Stranraer game, that's what we said. He's looking for a reaction, blah blah blah, and then we go and lose 2-1 to Stranraer, and that reaction wasn't there, but according to him, it was. After the game, he said, "I can't question the effort they gave me." I mean, I'm watching that game and I'm thinking, I didn't see any effort whatsoever. It was nearly a full 11. To me, there isn't any excuses in that game at all. If we worked hard, I reckon we'd have beat them, but we didn't. They worked harder and they deserved to win, and it could have been much more than just the 2-1 scoreline. So where he's seen that effort and that response, I don't know, because I certainly didn't see it, and I don't think any fan did.
The thing that I just don't get amongst it all is he keeps going on about the players giving all their effort and giving and putting effort in. See, in any line of work, you're expected to put effort in.
Mm-hmm.
So how the fuck is he coming out in this dismal time and saying, I'm just so glad that they've gave me a reaction by showing effort? They should be doing that anyway. They should be giving effort no matter what. So that's just a horrendous statement to make. Some of the things he's coming out with, it's surreal. Some of the things I'm reading, effort's part and parcel of being a footballer. That shouldn't be a fucking bonus, the way that Brian Rice is going on about. Do you know what I mean?
One of my favourite things that I've heard, it was from Alex Neil, who said the minimum he expects in players is 100% effort. Like, that's the minimum. He expects 100% in training and games, no matter what it is. And we're not getting that from Hamilton at all. But according to Brian Rice, we are. This is where the contradictory and the statements that get belittled and berated online come from, because these press conferences are getting more and more ridiculous. I mean, after the Stranraer game, before the Albion Rovers game was forfeited, he had a press conference where Paul Thompson, who works for Lanarkshire Live, asked him about fan reaction. And they asked him, what did they make of the fan reaction to Stranraer, and what does he think the fan reaction would be if they lost to Albion Rovers? And Brian Rice said, "Stop beating around the bush. Give me the respect I deserve. If you've got something to ask, ask me." And that's when Paul Thompson said, "Okay, the fan reaction's shit. What do you think the fan reaction is going to be if you lose to Albion Rovers? Will they start to question your position at the club?" And he said, "Yes. He was like, I understand that, but just the response to the question was crazy."
No, I know what you mean. I think a good tweet which really summarises sort of Brian Rice sort of personality was quite well. I've got a tweet here from a Red and White 1874. He tweeted and says, "He lost me as a manager 12 months ago, but he is an arrogant charlatan." And I think that is a very good, what would you call it, a simile or metaphor, I don't know.
Yeah.
A very good description. He says, "But he is an arrogant charlatan. Okay, he faced up to me a few weeks ago, but basically has ignored them and carried on as normal. Mouthy and entitled to media is his real personality. The club has stood by him, but he's not given anything in return." And I think that is quite a good sort of description, because you see in the media, and I think it's the same with sort of Accies, if anybody in Accies is asked anything which they don't like, they don't know how to respond to it, and they respond to it in a very ill-mannered way. Media are well and truly entitled to ask him these sort of questions. He's got it easy with Accies TV, because of course they're not going to ask him real questions. And I even think in the media, they barely even ask him sort of the questions that should be getting asked. And if anything is remotely in that way, which you've saw in past times when he belittled Andy McGilvery by saying, "This is our own local newspaper." And so what? Because you've been expected to be asked them to suck up your arse all the time? No. His persona doesn't really help with the media and his replies to these questions, because it just puts himself under mere pressure, because he just gives these arrogant responses that make it out as if he's doing such a good job.
And he responded to that. So, like you said, the view from the tennis guys are spot on, because they take a fan perspective, which is very important, I think, nowadays. These media people are going at it from a journalist perspective. The view from the tennis guys are going from a fan's perspective, where if they were a fan of our club, they agree with us because that's how fans react. They criticise when the team deserves to be criticised.
Joe will need to watch though, because the amount of Accies fans that are mentioning him in his tweets and all that, you could say big club found with him, the Accies.
We're kind of looking to him as our messiah.
I know.
In the telly. And obviously after the Stranraer game, we were told that we wouldn't be able to watch the Albion Rovers game. And then we were told we would get audio only. And then we were told, after we lost, then we were told, there is a game, we'll get a live stream, David Templeton's commentating on it, blah, blah, blah. Now, to me, that was their effort to appease fans. I know you don't agree with that, but in my opinion, that was their effort to appease fans. But then they immediately unappeased fans by saying it was £15 to watch. A game that is irrelevant, but without the Betfred Cup, it was a fight between the bottom two teams and another League Two side, and they want to charge us £15 to watch it. I think that's ridiculous. I really, for a nothing game, the best they could have done is say it's free, or it's £2.50 or something like that. It's £15 ridiculous.
It's just ridiculous. You saw the fact that even the fact that we're having to talk about the fact that they had to reverse a decision to stream a game. We're a fucking Premier League club. Why would we not be streaming it? I don't care all the excuses of the day that they might have came up with. It's just a shambles, the fact that there was a possibility of them not showing it in the first place. For them to then only reverse their decision after a well and truly pumping we got off fucking Stranraer, and the fact that they've even came out and says it'll be £15. For what I've heard, Colin McGowan made the decision to stream the game very early on the Thursday morning. For what I've heard, Colin McGowan apparently says, we're going to stream the game. And that's why Marcus has put it out that they were streaming the game. So what's went off in his head to think, I just don't think they understand how a football club works and what goes on in their head. Are they thinking, oh, we've just get beat? I know, let's go and stream the game and get fucking the fans back on our side. Do they genuinely think that's going to... They mind boggle me sometimes with the way in which they run the football club. Honestly, I don't think they're stupid people at all.
No.
I think some of the stuff they've done for us is brilliant, but some of the things and the way they do things, I just don't understand. I don't know what they're expecting. It truly isn't the statement I was expecting to see Thursday morning. As we discussed that after the Stranraer game, I had a feeling that I don't know. I just had a feeling they were going to come out with something. Yeah. But no, they came out with nothing, and that was certainly not the first statement I was expecting to see. And I think one of our fellow fans, Craig Rankin, pretty much said enough is enough, and the audacity, what he said was the audacity after successive defeats to two League Two sides who both charged a lower fee to now charge £15. This doesn't take into account what the fans have had to pay to watch us concede 20 goals in our last 4 league games. If ever there was a statement that the fans don't matter, this is it. Yep. And I think he's hit it in the nail with that. It certainly was a statement for get it. That was my opinion of it, and that's what I tweeted at the time. It was a bit of a get it right up to the fans. That's what I saw it as. Yep. We're not going to show the game. Oh, we've just been beat 2-1. All the fans are on our back and giving our manager criticism. We're getting all this bad media. I know it'll get it right up them. We'll just reverse our decision to actually show the game. I
absolutely agree. What I can say though, I want to mention with Craig Rankin is he did a really, really nice thing where he asked fans who weren't, because there was a lot of fans boycotting the game and not giving the £15. He said, if you are willing to do that, let's do something good and put it towards charity. So that's what he did. He started a GoFundMe for the St Andrews Hospice titled Charity Over Football, where fans raised nearly £550. It's brilliant. So well done, Craig, for doing that very, very, very clever thing to do. Putting our money to a good place. So well done to Craig for that. It was brilliant. But no, you're absolutely right. It's completely and utterly mind-boggling, and it's gotten to a stage where, and you can see that online, the interest for the football club has dropped so rapidly over the last few weeks. It's getting to the point now where you can see it on Twitter. Even the most hardcore fans are not interested.
Yeah, I went a period where I didn't miss a home or away game, friendly, cup game or anything for 5 years solid. And I just, honestly, mate, like, even coming to do this podcast, I'm doing it because we've done so many before, but I don't know, I just didn't want that. Like, see that feeling last week when Scotland won, and that general buzz about that I had for a few days after that. I just didn't want that to end. Do you know what I mean? And then, like, for the week after it, Scotland played another couple of games, and I'd have been happy for Scotland to play another 20 games in a row. Do you know that? I just everything that's been going on with Accies and now is just it's a shambles, and the disconnect is evident to see whether you're a young fan, a teenager, or an older fan. I think that's very evident to show. We showed that with the podcast after the Stranraer game, and social media shows that in every sort of level.
Agree. And talking about this podcast, I'm very much like everyone else. I'm so fed up of it now, where I know as soon as I sit down on a Saturday afternoon to watch the game, I know I'm going to finish it being disheartened, and it's so horrible to say, but I'm getting totally fed up, man. And I don't think I'd have watched Dundee United if I didn't do the channel. If I didn't do OnlyAccies, I don't think I'd have watched the game. I don't think
I didn't pay for it. I didn't pay for it.
I don't blame you. I don't blame any fan for not watching it, not paying for it, or not caring. When
it's a sad state of affairs, man. Yeah. Honestly, I don't want it to be like that. I just don't want all Accies fans, and I don't want this sort of relationship. There's nothing more I would do. See, if we were both in the league, and with every right we were both in the league, we were given performances, there was a bit of engagement with the club and stuff like that, I wouldn't be grumbling that much. Do you know what I mean? But it's just the whole manner in which it's happening is the disheartening part. As we touched on, sort of press conferences, what he's coming out and saying is just contradicting himself on every level and form. The fact that I don't want to see him do a job, but the fact that he's clearly out his depth and there's not a peep from the board. And when an Accies fan does give a peep, they're shot down in flames and we're the bad guys. Just the disconnection between the club and fans, it just seems like the fans aren't meant to be heard, and the fans don't matter. And I'm sure they've pretty much said that before, but that shouldn't be what it's like at a football club. You've got junior clubs that engage with their fans better, and it's really not it's really not how it should be.
I think for some, there's no way back. In my opinion, I think for some fans, they've done enough to put them off for life, and it's sad to say, but I think that's the case. I even think sacking Brian Rice at this point won't get a lot of fans back on side, because it goes a lot deeper than Brian Rice.
It goes a lot deeper than Brian Rice, and that's always been the case since the Cannon era. We've lost a lot of fans since then, and even sacking Cannon didn't bring the fans back. The very little fans that we do and still did after that, I feel the majority of them have been pushed away with the recent ongoings. I think you just need to look at, there's a post that was made by an older fan. She's not exactly the oldest, but let me get it up for you. Wouldn't like me saying that, so let me see. I think in my 45 seasons watching us, this is the lowest I've ever felt. This includes the Watson, Stepek era, Holmes, the Canning years, and the very last days of Billy Reid's tenure. The reason for this is the deliberate neglect and stubbornness by those in power to do the right thing. Social media phone-ins are the only outlet we have, and the sadness conveyed by the Accies support is being made worse by the custodians treating us with all the contempt and insinuating we are the problem and we should just sit in our arses and accept where we are like happy clappers. That's how it starts off with, and I'm sure you'll put up the full thing because I'd be here for 2 minutes reading it all out. But it hits it to a T.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
The discontent and disconnection between fans and the club is just, it's not good at all, man. So many people just, as you says, absolute diehards. They couldn't give a fuck. Like Saturday, I couldn't give a fuck if we get beat or not. And why should that be the case?
And obviously going into the Dundee United game, we were granted with another beautiful press conference, which again was full of just strange reactions. One of the tweets from an Accies fan called Stephen, Brian Rice said there are areas in which we have been poor. What Stephen says was you'd be hard pressed to find areas where we haven't been poor. And as for his praise, you get praise when you do well. He'll have to stack up a mountain of good results to rectify the garbage we've witnessed this season. I mean, which is spot on. Again, we're bottom in the league. We're getting pumped most games. And how Brian Rice can come out and say there are areas which we've been poor. I agree. I can't think of an area we've been good. Another fan tweet just under that was, would you not be more angry at your team's performance and the part you have to play in that, rather than being angry that you and your team get some well-deserved criticism? And that's right. It always seems to be, like we keep going on about excuses, it always seems to be against Stranraer, or the pitch was terrible, or the weather was terrible. Anything else, it's finances, it's COVID. Why can't we focus on mistakes he makes in game, starting 11s, tactics, how he sets up his team? It's just there are things that are not getting focused on that he's doing wrong, rather than things he can't control, like the finances, etc.
Gary Holt came out with an interview, and it's just night and day compared to like how they both are in press conferences. He pretty much just says, he has to consider his own position, because results haven't been good enough. There's not a hope in hell you'd ever hear Brian Rice. Brian Rice seems exempt from criticism and all this sort of negative flack. It's just, he says he's not making excuses, but then a minute later he's making an excuse.
Yeah.
It's all a bit of fucking shambles, man. It's just, I'm getting fed up even talking about it, because I couldn't really care less at the present moment. It's just pissing me off even more, which sort of leads us on nicely to the actual game as such.
Yeah, I mean, to look at the actual game itself, listen, I think we started well. We had high press.
We're on the front foot the
Yep.
first 15 minutes, definitely.
We were on the high press, didn't give them any time on the ball. We still had no creativity, but the players were giving much more effort in that first 15 minutes. And I'm quite happy to see that, even though Dundee United had one or two half chances that they could have done better on, I don't think either team really took control. There was no dominant side. It was a very kind of dull first half, but I was happy with dull. I was happy we weren't getting battered.
It's a sad day when you're
It's a sad
having
day.
you're having to be happy at the fact that you're still 0-0 after 20 minutes.
Yep.
And you've only gave the other team a small amount of chances. It's a very sad day. Started the game all right with the constant pressure. That eventually died out.
Mm-hmm.
We have to remember Dundee United hadn't scored a goal for open play since September. Their fans have said they've been absolutely horrendous, and God knows how they're fifth in the league. So fair enough. We're saying we're happy because, and it is fair enough, we've no conceded and we were a lot better than what we have been previous games, but just because we're 0-0 in a game, we shouldn't be buzzing about that. Do you know what I mean? And that's what Brian Rice pretty much comes to say in his interview after the game. As the game went on, you could tell it was just two absolute guff sides, and we make the breakthrough. And as soon as we make the breakthrough, it's 11 players behind the ball.
Yeah, so this is what I was going to touch on, where as soon as we got the goal, I'm sure most fans will agree with me, the first thing I said was, I wonder how long it will be till they equalise.
Of course, and it shouldn't need to be like that.
Yep, because as soon as we score, heads go down, we drop 10 yards. Like you said, it's 11 men behind the ball, and we're inviting pressure on. I don't understand that. Now, if that was... Now, Ewan Summers, who's been on the podcast before, he said after the game that he doesn't think we can blame Brian Rice for that. Now, if Brian Rice has instructed them to, if we go ahead, defend that lead, that's not what we're good at. We're not a good defensive side. I have a funny feeling part of that was the players. I have a funny feeling the players shat themselves and thought, we're ahead, oh fuck, what do we do? We can't lose another goal. Let's back.
What Ewan was getting on with what he said is, I think he's kind of right. Brian Rice can't really be blamed for that defeat. I think for going for how absolute horrendous we've been, we kind of shut up shop a bit, and we changed our sort of formation as such. So all right, fair play to him in that respect, but that is, as you also then touched on, he's not saying that Rice shouldn't go because he's sort of made himself slightly harder to beat than getting beat off League Two sides. He's changed it up so we weren't so open at the back. Personally, I don't think they've worked on much. They've just changed the sort of formation, because when you're saying chasing players down, I can't remember what fan it was that said to me. I think it was my bird's dad actually. You've got 6 players all running at the same ball. That's not working in a style of play at all. That's just saying, oh, you're a defender, use it, and they've not worked in a style of play, so they're all just fucking running towards the ball like schoolboys. Do you know what I mean? See if they're actually working intensively on a sort of formation and style of play, then they'll each know that each individual role. There shouldn't be fucking 6 of them all running towards the one person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fair enough. He's changed our formation. We've made ourselves a bit more compact and harder to sort of break down, so we're not getting pumped every match. We're playing a poor Dundee United side who've scored their first 2 goals for open play. We have shown us signs of progression because we're not getting pumped, but it's still nowhere near good enough. And his comments after it, just mind-boggling again. I really don't understand. He's more delusional than Martin Cannon, and I hate that comparison of the two because, don't get me wrong, Martin Cannon was completely out his depth, so we shouldn't really be comparing and contrasting, but his levels of delusion is, I can't fault the boys, the effort as per usual. Just because they've not been fucking pumped. What was it? It's a travesty we've not took him at the game. It's a travesty we've not fucking held on to the fucking lead and capitalised on it, man. I can't fault the boys' effort. You were playing a poor side. We should have won. We could have easily, if we played remotely anywhere near more than, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but we should have won that game.
Especially after taking the lead.
That's one of the games on with 99 times out of 100. That's a game where you say the first team that get that goal wins the game. But no, somehow we managed to fuck it up. And the thing that pissed me off as well in the game was we didn't make a sub until the 91st minute after we're 1-0. Why?
Yeah, this is something I was gonna mention as well. I mean, as soon as they got that first goal, I knew that a second was coming. It was so spot on. It was obvious it was going to happen. They equalise, heads drop, a second one's coming. Why at that stage do you not make a change to get some fresh legs in? If you have to wait to the 91st minute to make a sub, a pointless sub, may I say, when you're 1-0 down, I don't understand that. Augie is blown at his arse at 70 minutes. Why don't we bring David Moyle on to do the chasing? Where, you can say what you want about David Moyle, he runs. So he'd have time to put pressure on the back line. It's just that it lacks a leader, in my opinion. For me, as soon as Brian Easton sees the players drop that 10 yards and start defending their line, unless he's instructed to by Brian Rice, which is the important difference here, he should be dragging those players up the pitch. He should be demanding that they do not drop further back. That to me lacks leadership on the pitch and off the pitch. That's what I see.
100%. And another point to touch on the Dundee United game. I don't know what Justin Johnson and Tunde's done to Brian Rice, but why I don't know.
It's so strange. I mean, you can hear in the audio when the fans met Brian Rice, he says, when asked about Tunde and the strikers, he says, it's all we've got. Now, is that pretty much admitting that Tunde's not good enough?
So he said at the meeting that the strikers weren't good enough. He said that himself, and then he says he's trying his best to get someone else in. He said that at the meeting. See, if you're a striker and you're hearing your manager say that you're not good enough, why the fuck are you going to even try for that? Why are you going to try? If your own manager, fair enough, fans are entitled to give players slack, and that usually entices them to play better. But see, if you're hearing your own manager say that you are not good enough, yet he's still selecting you on occasions, why the fuck are you? Why are you going to give any sort of effort whatsoever? It's the same for all the other players. Brian Rice constantly to the fans pretty much says that his players aren't good enough and they're not of the level of which he's had before. So if you're hearing that, why the fuck are you going to even get any effort?
William Donaghy says, same old Accies, always disappointing. No doubt Rice will go on a better performance or some mints, but it's points from the board we want because we're getting relegated if we continue. Boyd Miller says, Rice is not good enough. He is a coach, not a manager. Tactics are shit. Subs are shit. Most performances have been shit. You can no longer back him. It's time for a change. You can see the kind of where folk are going here. Somebody else said, Rice admits he doesn't know why things are going wrong, nor how to fix it. Why is he still in charge? If Accies wants to stay up, Rice and Boozy need to go. Do you think club sponsors want to be associated with a championship club or possibly worse?
And that's something you touch on, mate, with the finances. Accies seem to have this mentality. The club don't bring them in that much money, so the football side and fans are a sort of plus mark. See if we get relegated, see the amount of money in which we lose. Yeah. It's a different level. That on as well with the fact what I was touching on, the Accies fans, the sort of Accies forum page where the money that was coming in with the council, Colin McGowan was dying for the council to keep bringing that money in. The amount of money they're losing for there, everybody has this sort of mentality of Accies are brilliant with our youth players. When was the last youth player we brought through and we brought a lot of money in for them? See if we get relegated, the club might not think it. I don't think they're that stupid. So that's why I don't understand why they're not putting a lot of effort in with the club, with the football team to sort of keep them in the top tier. Because the amount of money they'll lose if we get relegated, along with other things on top of that, unless they've made their money and they're thinking, you know what, if we go down, we down, fuck it, and this is their sort of last payday as such. I just don't know what's going on with them. I think they're smarter than that, and I think they need to make change because although we might not be particularly happy, and there's some fans that would say they'd rather go down to the Championship, financially, it suits us massively, and I'd be extremely worried being an Accies fan if we get relegated financially as well.
I mean, when you talk about financially, and they always talk about we don't have the financials, the club aren't doing anything, it seems, to get money in. So we decided not to sell season tickets, so that's already losing out on money. They decide not to do any 50-50 tickets like other clubs are doing. Merchandise, obviously, we know for years has been non-existent. Are you telling me...
Well, it's all right. We've got Accies gin.
Right. So are you telling me, right, honestly, that if Accies were to put out a tracksuit top for £15, you wouldn't buy it?
If Accies put a tracksuit out for £50, I'd buy it.
Right, you would buy it. Accies fans would buy it. It's the same when Mikael Miller brought out that whatever it was, his clothing thing.
Mick Miz or whatever it was.
Looked
Mick Mills.
shit, but because it was an Accies player, Accies fans bought it. That's why if Accies put any effort into merchandise at all, it would sell. They need to spend money to make money. I think they just don't want to spend money. That's the downside of it.
Like they said, I just don't get it.
If they put tracksuits out, you would buy it. I would buy it. I know a hell of a lot of parents who would buy it for their kids. Like simple stuff.
It's not really fair. It's even basic stuff like that. It just doesn't entice more support. I put a tweet up during the week there. I was cleaning out a loft and I found my old Young Accies supporters card. And this is something that they brought in where you'd become an Accies young supporter. You'd get a wee package. You'd get an Accies scarf, an Accies tammy, and you'd get a season ticket with it and stuff like that. It's just see basic stuff that can engage with the community and fans and bring in more financial sort of gain. It's just mental why they just... I don't know. It mind boggles me why they don't do this stuff, but there's obviously a reason why they don't, and they're obviously happy making money in more other avenues, but that's a completely different other subject.
I mean, even if you look at, though, talking about the merchandise, when they brought out, remember they did that hat and scarf collection, like both things for a tenner or something it was. What happened? It sold out within a week.
Aye.
Like I don't. This is where generally I can't get my head around. They're so desperate to make money, but they don't do things that make money.
I know.
It doesn't make any sense to me. And like you said, don't worry, we've got Dundee gin. Now listen, I've got no problem with the club making a sponsorship and selling gin, but as a club who broadcast and quite famously say how much they're helping alcoholics beat their addictions, why have a sponsor for a gin company? I don't get it. I don't
Mate,
understand it.
our away stand is called the Scottish Whisky Auction Stand. It's a whole completely different kettle of fish to even discuss this sort of shit. But the Dundee gin thing that pissed me off is I'd be happy buying easy enough for me to say it, a bespoke Aki's alcoholic thing and keep it as a sort of memento as such. But the fact it says Dundee on it, not a chance. Fucking Dundee bastards.
True,
Do you know what I mean?
The thing. It's
they
things
don't
like this
ever think simple things like that. They never think about the football inside it at all. They just think, oh, we can make a sponsor. They'll bring in money. We'll sell 18 bespoke Dundee gins with a shitey Aki's badge on it. Not a chance. How? Come on, fuck, man. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to just fucking build this sort of merch that is going to sell it like that, and 100% would.
I mean, I don't think we can aim a lot of this at the board. For stuff like that, you need to look at the commercial department, which, as far as I'm aware, doesn't exist. There's so much they can be doing more of. This should surely fall under their workspace, their desk, whatever you want to call it, to look at merchandise. It's silly things like that, 50-50 tickets. I don't understand why they're not doing more to make money. They keep going about having no finances. Do things to get finances in, because you're not doing anything right now.
I think what I did as well to after the Dundee United game and just the general feeling about the place, I saw a fan tweet about, I think he was just pissed off with everything in general. I don't know if you've got the exact tweet there.
Yeah, so the Twitter account said, is there any chance the chairman coming forward and answering some reasonable questions from the fans that could perhaps be part of the exclusive content promised but not delivered by Accies TV? I mean, if you're paying, what, $5.99 a month, $59.99 it was for a year, whatever like that, and you're not getting exclusive content you're promised, you're quite right to come out and ask why you're not getting it.
I think that tweet has two sort of elements to it. I think the fans clearly pissed off at the fact that we're not hearing anything at all for the club with what's going on. Apart from that time, about a month and a half ago, where Alan Maitland came out and sort of gave Rice's batting. Ever since then, everything's went downhill and we've not heard anything for the club. So that tweet's obviously got that sort of element to it, because we've not heard anything at all. All we're pretty much told is what we hear from Brian Rice, and I think we're just meant to accept that. So it's got that element to it. And the other element is, yes, us fans paid £60 and he's not... Listen, I've not paid for Accies TV, so I don't know. And I knew this would be the case, so that's why I didn't waste my money. So that's a paying customer. It's the same in any sort of line of work. If you pay for a sort of any sort of thing, you're expected a sort of service, and this person's not had that service. So there was an element of seriousness in it and a sort of snide, jokey remark, which I think is part and parcel with any sort of business.
And it wasn't rude.
It wasn't rude. It wasn't abusive. It wasn't anything at all. It was just pretty much him making a fun of the fact that he's paid £60 his sell. So he was kind of slagging his sell off at the fact that he's paid £60 and he's not receiving a service. And yeah, someone from Accies has replied to it, pretty much saying that he's not entitled to his opinion.
Yep, because it's an account without a real name or a real profile picture.
Which I don't see an issue with. He's called, what was it? MD, I think it was. Yes, so I think that pretty much gives his initials away. He's an Accies fan. Maybe for his work purposes, he can't have. Which there's hundreds of different avenues. Most likely, I don't think it's a cynical thing. Reading his type of tweets, nothing ever seems abusive or cynical. I think it's just a simple, for his work purposes, he can't have
probably
social media. So, the staff members pretty much shot him down in flames, saying he wasn't entitled to his opinion. If you get the tweet there?
Yeah, so the tweet said it's now been deleted and the account itself has been deleted. But it read, I suppose it could be, however, you're hiding behind an anonymous account. So don't make snark remarks when you're not even brave enough to have your real name and photo on the profile. Therefore, your opinions aren't valid. Now, stupid. Just
Why
stupid.
get involved, man?
Yes.
Why get involved? Why even
Stupid thing
reply?
to say. The fan came back and absolutely nailed it. Actually, to be fair, he said it's dead easy. You're employed by a football club that I've supported for 40 years. I am a customer to a non-product you are responsible for delivering. I made a reasonable request followed by a daft quip. Not abuse, not unreasonable, just good old-fashioned customer feedback. And it's spot on. I
And
like you and many other fans did not buy Aki's TV because, like everything else, I knew it wouldn't be followed up. The podcast, not our podcast, their podcast, which started off, which I thought was quite good. I enjoyed listening to it. Stopped after 4 or 5 episodes. 2 of those episodes were 2 weeks late to be released, by the way. This exclusive content stopped. The story of the match videos stopped after 1 week. Training videos midweek. There was one training video midweek. It was then stopped. It's just another example of, at the start, there was the full press conferences being posted in there. We got an exclusive interview with Tunde Obalabi after he signed. It was put on there. I haven't seen anything else. And if I had paid for it, I'd be asking the exact same question. So the fan
I
wasn't
think
wrong. Totally
the
entitled.
fan wasn't wrong. He wasn't abusive. He's not done anything wrong. And I think the fact he's came back with that reply, and subsequently, I think another tweet he told him away take his shite for a face. He's take a shite for a face. Take his face for a shite.
Yeah, so what he said was, let's make Twitter accounts that don't have your name or picture on them and constantly give people hassle and expect to be taken seriously. Away throw shite at the moon.
Come on,
Like,
man.
why get
And then
involved?
why get involved? And then MD's replied with what you've said there, hit it on the nail completely. Subsequently, then the staff member's Twitter's been deleted because he's obviously realised he's completely in the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then for him to go posting his fucking Instagram after the Rangers game, a cryptic message, because we all know he's a Rangers fan. I don't think MD has any qualms with any staff members having allegiances to any other football team.
Not at all.
Nobody has that sort of issue, but the manner in which that's been done is just pure pettiness, and it's just to entice and antagonise the situation even further. It's just pure schoolboy stuff.
Yep.
It's like something in a like I started the fucking podcast with. It's like something in EastEnders. It's a pure fucking soap.
Yep. Do
you know what I mean? It's pure schoolboy wee guy shit that you would never expect to see in a professional football team.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. I have no issues with anybody working at the club supporting a team that isn't Hamilton. That's absolutely fine. The same way I would hope, if I went to work for a football club, whatever, they wouldn't mind me supporting Accies. It doesn't matter. You're there to do a job.
You're an employee.
You're an employee, and that's what people expect of you. But getting involved, and it's not the first time, getting involved with fans on social media and arguing back and forth, it's unprofessional, and it's not something you want to see, because I think the job the person does has ultimately been good.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%.
There's been a lot of good stuff done, a lot of good content created. Stuff like this undoes it.
But then, exactly, 100%. Stuff like this completely undoes the good work in which they've created, because of their involvement they get in social media when anything is negative. Put it this way, if a customer was to come to me in my work and ask me what MD has asked him, and I was to reply in the manner in which he did, I'm sacked.
Yep.
I'm at a very minimum, been given a fucking disciplinary.
Absolutely.
It's madness, man. An absolute madness.
I mean, listen,
it's
we don't condone any abuse of any kind,
100%.
any
And
level of staff.
like we say, there's the very 0.001% of fans will give this abuse
Yep.
when they sort of feel enough is enough and they get very heated, so abuse will come. It's part and parcel with any football club, any form of life. You always get the minority doing that. And it sort of doesn't work in our favour very well because people can then use that to tarnish everybody else.
Yep.
And I'm quite worried that this will be what happens. But
So am I.
if it does happen, then I'm sure there's pretty good evidence to show where that's came from and how it's started. Don't condone abuse at all, and I don't think abuse ever gets given to sort of start this sort of situation that's arised. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, like you said, 99% of Accies fans don't condone abuse either. And that's my fear, is that and it happens all the time, is that one bad fan will put a bad name to every Accies fan. I hope it doesn't happen, but I'm waiting for a statement from the club.
So Matt, and we've not heard a single peep from Accies in God knows how long. They've not spoken to their fans. They've created this divide that's massive at the present moment, which we'll talk on in a minute. But I think we'll hear a statement from them very soon, and it's just going to create an even further divide for what's currently ongoing. And you just think, come on to fucking, especially in these times we're having. Maitland was on the podcast at the start of the season. Come on, guys, it's no fucking hard. The fans aren't asking for us to go and sign fucking Messi, or the fans aren't asking us to fucking put billboards up all throughout Hamilton, fucking and urging people to support the team. Accies fans don't ask for a lot. We're asking for the bare minimum, and we don't even get that. You're seeing a staff member having that sort of negativity and get involved with the fans. It just leads on to how Everton is at the present moment. Just how disgruntled every Accies fan is, and it's not as simple as just saying it's a handful of fans. It's fucking every single fan. Not any sort of positivity from any other fan. Everywhere you look, and our only form of sort of communication is social media. You've got Accies World, which is the fans forum, which compared to what it used to be, you don't get much users on that anymore because majority of the users are now on social media, either your Twitter, your We're Hamilton Facebook group, or just voicing their opinions on Facebook in general. Everywhere you look, it's just the fans in the club couldn't be any more further apart to each other. You just need to look at some tweets. The We're Hamilton Twitter page put in a tweet saying, "Do you think Accies genuinely care how disinterested majority of the fans have came? You look at all social media platforms and you struggle to find any Accies with any sense of pride these days. It's alarming the amount of fans we have seen gone under the BOD's helm." And it's spot on. You just look at some of the tweets underneath that. Stephen D has wrote, "I've been looking on the bright side at the start of the season. Not only a season ticket holder, I was looking forward to getting to stream all away games as well. Fast forward a few months and I couldn't care less. Accies and bands to watch, won't be watching anytime soon." You've got Rob Hunter, who's posted, "Every time I look at my Accies top and face masks, I now think they'll be useful as cleaning cloths. That's how much I simply don't care right now. I'm embarrassed to wear a fucking Accies face mask."
Yep.
You've then got a Morton and Blackridge looking at clubs like Cloudback drumming up interest in Twitter all the time. Even Whitburn Juniors do a great job. No criticism of Accies. There's things they can do and learn from these guys. Basic needs. You've got another person, Boyd Miller. No, I don't think they care. At the end of the day, it's a business they're running. All they care about is their gross margins, and whether that comes from the football side, they don't give a fuck. And then finally, I've got an Andrew Johnson. This season, the club look like they don't care. Didn't sell any season tickets, therefore I don't think they feel they owe the fans any sort of explanation for anything. Could backfire massively. Which It shouldn't fucking matter if they sell season tickets or no. These are fans. We've been there for years. We are owed an explanation, and that's why I'm so bemused with how far apart the club could be for the fans at the present moment. I don't think majority of them are bad people or bad guys, and I just don't understand it. And Alan's been on here a couple of times. I spoke to him in person several times, and I just don't understand the silence for the club at the present moment at all. I just don't understand it.
And what I don't understand is Alan Maitland as an Accies guy. Like, do you know what I mean? Former manager himself. Whenever I've spoke to him, he has genuine care for the club. He wants to see the club do well. So this is why I'm the same as you. I'm totally bemused at the silence in the club. Not even, I can, like I said, we can say it at the time. We understand the board coming out and defending the manager. That's what boards do. But the silence at this moment, where I've never seen such disinterest in fans and such a big gap between the board and the fans, the club and the fans. It's incredible. It's something that I honestly I've never seen before at any club. I've never ever seen the club this far away from the fans before.
And it suits right into their hands, the fact that there isn't fans there. Yeah. So they can be silent, and it's just like we're not there. But that's not how a football club should work. Yeah. Surely they should give a fuck about how us as fans feel. Surely they have some remote sense in their body where they can see the fans hurting. And I don't know, mate. I just don't understand how the fact that the silence is constant and how neglected us as fans are, especially in these tough times that we're going through. There's a worldwide pandemic going through. You'd think the club would be doing as much as possible to sort of engage with the fans and make sure. And even at the sort of the beginning of lockdown, God rest his soul, I saw he sadly recently passed away. Stephen Whiteside's grandfather passed away. At the beginning of lockdown, you had Brian Rice and George Cairns going out, socially distanced, giving him a visit. And that's the type of engagement you need. And that's the type of, like, fans appreciate small things like that. And that would have went so far for that old man, God rest his soul, before he passed away. And that went so far for his family. But just now, you don't hear anything at all for the club. In the past few months, despite his playing so poorly, they've not gave us anything to work with at all to sort of show any sort of positivity at all. We could be bottom of the league and they could be trying something to try and engage with the fans, but it just seems that anything we ever do here for them is just a big get it right fucking up yous. We don't give a fuck about yous. Like, the only thing we've heard from them when we've tried to make contact is they've reversed their decision about, like we previously touched on, they've reversed their decision on showing the game but charging us £15, and they're fucking broadcasting a fucking pantomime.
Yeah.
And don't get me into that.
The pantomime's a whole other thing. But no, I agree with you. It is crazy. And
mate, and everybody just, as tough as the times are now, nobody gives a fuck about Accies anymore. They're diehard fans aren't giving a fuck. It's really sad that it's came to this. And it's not as if it's just us, I say young, but even us sort of fairly young fans. It's not. You're seeing tweets, you're seeing posts, like the one I touched on with Colin Mitchell. You're seeing people, you saw in that podcast after Stranraer, it's people that have been coming for 40, 50, 60 years that are saying the exact same. They've never felt so disinterested. They've never felt this divide between them and Accies, and it's just such a sad thing to see. And I don't know what the club need to do. They need to sort of do something to sort of show that they actually do care and they want to sort of closing that divide that's been caused. They've left Rice out, hang out to dry his cell. They've not said a single word on that, and they've just gave us no engagement at all. I don't know what needs to be done, mate, but I think we need to expect to hear something very soon, or I think it's safe to say that they're ending their sort of term in Accies very soon, because if they weren't, then I think they would be doing their utmost in order to sort of steady the ship as such.
Yeah, I agree. I apologise, this episode's been maybe a little bit of a downer, but there's nothing positive to talk about for Accies, unfortunately. Thank you very much for listening, either on YouTube, Spotify, whatever it is. If you don't follow us on any platforms, do so. All links are in the description. Follow us on our social medias, all of which are down below. If you haven't subscribed, please do. It does help us a lot, and obviously it means you keep up to date with all the content. Follow We Are Hamilton on Twitter as well, because like with all the tweets basically we've taken are from their account. So go ahead and follow them too. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully next time we speak to you, we'll have maybe some better news.
You may as well end it with these Stenzel theme tune, because it has been a fucking soap opera, man.
Thank you very much for watching.
From yesterday, I feel like I'll never